Good morning. A little bit late because my internet is doing its own thing. How is everyone this morning? Monday morning. And another beautiful day here in Shell Harbour. I want to ask you a question to pause and reflect. And I want to ask you, have you ever thought about whether your family or your ancestors are causing anything that could be ruining your financial future? Could your ancestors or your family, or anything else for that matter, be causing you to struggle with your finances? Are you challenged in any way in how you manage your money? Because I know that was something that I had and was unaware of it. Because whatever you resist can own you. And when you have things from your past that are holding you back, that are silent instructions, they're things in your system that you might not even be aware of, right? They're patterns of behavior that you have grown up with. And I know I grew up in a family where my mum worked as owned her own business, and I think when I was very young, she was doing Avon actually, and then she moved on to do party plan linen way before Lorraine Lee came along. And what's ironic is that her name's Lorraine, my mum's name's Lorraine, and she definitely could have done that sort of franchise, but anyway, she didn't. She was basically just surviving. So she had come from a family, I think her grandmother owned a farm, a mini hobby farm, and they had chickens. And back then, in that time, chickens were really expensive, and it was something that you had at Christmas or a special occasion. And so they used to, chop the heads off the chickens and pluck the chickens and get them prepared and then sell them to people for those, special occasions or for Christmas or whatever. And I'm not sure about her mum, actually, to tell you the truth. I can't remember what my grandmother did. But then mum owned her own business, and my dad was sick on a kidney machine. So I grew up with my mum working really, really hard, and never at home, because she was working like weird hours, and when she was at home she was in front of with paperwork and on the phone, and she was just constantly working. And my dad was sick on a machine, so he didn't work. He was like the house mum. And so I have been in business for 25, coming up to 25 years next year. I think my children were about 4 and 5, 3 and 4, the last time I had a physical job. I have worked for myself ever since, and I started off as a remedial massage therapist, and I've done all sorts of stuff, found out that I could do energy work, and I've done all sorts of modalities in between, and then combine them, and it's been a stepping stone basically. So what I found, though, I was a single mum for a long time. I was a single mum right through my children's lives, all the way through. I'm still a single mum, I suppose. They're now adults and doing their own thing. But I worked really hard, like my mother, to get food on the table, and so that they, I could pay rent and all of those things. And my kids saw me a lot more than what I did for my mum, with my mum, but I also was working on a regular basis, working odd hours sometimes, for, having to do massages. But here's the thing. I've also got two brothers, and my brothers, it's very interesting because I don't think any males in my family actually had a business. They all worked a 9-to-5, job. They worked in a job. And both my brothers have gone into IT, and both of them make pretty good money. And it was very interesting when I had no idea how much money they earned. And I, quite a few years ago, was stuck at a particular, capped with my business, and couldn't move any further no matter how I tried. And then somehow, accidentally, I found out how much one of my brothers earned. And I recognized that I was earning the same amount as what my brother was, and that somehow, because I had been a single mum, and I was the youngest and the only girl, and they had prestigious jobs, and I was a massage therapist, I had programmed into me that I was somehow less than them, and I wasn't capable, or I wasn't able to be as successful as they were. And without even consciously knowing it, I had capped my income to exactly the same amount as my brothers, to prove to them, without them even knowing, or myself, by the way, without myself or them even knowing, I had capped excuse me, I had capped myself at a certain income, so that I could prove to my subconscious that I was worthy and capable of being a member of that family, that I belonged there. And when I recognized that, I was able then to shift it, and now have been able to exceed that income. However, it can be that you have stored information within us from previous generations. Now, this is the study of epigenetics. Outside the genes, epi means outside or above, and genes, which is genetics is genes, right? And so now there's this research to show that it's not just our conditions from our medical conditions. For example, a lot of people know that you can have genetic diseases and cancers and things like that throughout your family lineage. And they're now discovering that, or not now, they've been discovering this for the last 20 years, if I can remember rightly, that we also can hold traumas and challenges and dysfunctions in our mental capacity, in our belief systems, within our system from our past and from our ancestors. So I want you to think back on the history of humans, even, so even up to the 1900s, for example, where we've had famines, we've had wars, we've had recessions, we've had, a lot of people struggling with poverty, with homelessness, with, even as women, we were placed in a position where we didn't have any rights. We didn't have any rights to our money. We didn't have pockets in our clothes, because the men had pockets so that they could carry all the important things, and women didn't have pockets, right? So we weren't even allowed to carry important information, let alone money and things like that. So I want you just to think back. I know that I myself have only just in the last 10 years, I think, been interested even in my ancestral history, and have had my timeline done, my family tree. When we have this history as humans, we have these things in our very DNA of being, a submissive woman, for example, being, not being able to speak for ourselves or stand up for our own rights, or we've had constant physical, mental and emotional abuse from men and other women, right? And all of these things have been brought down through our actual genetics in our DNA, locked in. All of these traumas and all of these conditions are locked into our DNA. And so they're like little codes. They're little codes of information that are put into our DNA, and therefore when things are firing within us and we have a situation, for example, where you're given a raise, or you've got the opportunity to expand your business, or something happens outside of you that can trigger that response from your DNA that you're not even aware of. So like me, here I was not able to increase my my income in my business, because somehow I had in the background running this program that I was trying to belong to my family. I didn't feel like I belonged, and so I was trying to prove to myself, as well as to the rest of my family, who actually didn't care, right? Consciously didn't care of whether, to this day, no one knows how much money I earn or even what I actually do in my family. And somehow in my DNA, I had all this, these loops of information. You don't belong, you're not capable, and you're not worthy, right? And so here I was with this silent instruction going on. And so what happens is, when you've got the opportunity to increase something in your income, for example, as a example, here you are with this opportunity, and somehow your body energetically responds in a negative way, or it shuts down in some way, and it doesn't move and expand into that, and it doesn't fire in the same way. It shrinks, and so therefore doesn't maybe attach in the same way to that opportunity. And so therefore it's not marrying up energetically to that information, and you've missed that opportunity because your subconscious is trying to prove something and is coming from lack. So if you've had you may be the type of person that doesn't spend any money. You're too scared to spend your money or take a risk in your business, or in your family finances or something like that, and you're not even quite sure, this is just the way you've been taught. And it's like that old story. I don't know if anyone has ever heard that story of the mother that's cooking the ham in in the oven, and the chicken, and she cuts the legs off the chicken and puts it in the baking tray and puts it in the oven. And the daughter says, "Mum, why do you cut the legs off the chicken?" She's like, I don't know. I just, it's something Mum's always done, So the daughter goes and rings up Grandma and says, "Grandma, why do you cut the legs off the chicken when you put it in the oven?" "Oh, I don't know. It's just something that I've always done, My mum did it as well." So great grandma is still alive, and so she rings up great grandmother and says, "Why do you cut the legs off the chicken?" And she says, "Oh, because my pan wasn't big enough to put the chicken in, so I had to cut the legs off." So here we are doing this methodical thing over and over again and not even knowing why it was in the first place. It's just the way it's always been done, right? So what is it that you've always done because it's just the way it's been done, and you're not even actually aware that you're programmed somehow and that thing is owning you, and that's causing you to not be able to expand in some way? Because, as they say, money is not everything. In fact, money is something that is just a measurement. A lot of people say money is energy, right? Well, what does that even mean? Everything is energy. But money is just a measurement of value that you are giving. If you have value to the rest of the world, or there's, you're giving value in some way, someone will give you a measurement of that. And generally it's money, sometimes it's not. Before it was seashells or, animals. I exchange a pig for your, 5 bags of wheat or whatever it might be. And so money became a currency, an innate currency. It's just a piece of paper, not even anymore, that actually then is a measurement of an exchange of value, right? I value your service, so I'm going to give you this much money because that's how much the value is of that service or that product, right? You're working for someone, you're serving them in their business, they give you a wage, right? And so if we have been conditioned to believe through our genetic makeup that we are somehow not worthy of, a higher income, or we're a woman and so we shouldn't be asking to receive that much money. Culturally, that there's genetic information through our genes from our culture as well. If we have information in our system that holds us back, we will not receive that expansion. We are not expanding into that. Those codes are actually firing away within our system and causing, it can actually cause opportunities not to even come our way, because we are in this beautiful big ocean of energy that is all one. It's this beautiful flow of information. And so when we actually disconnect from that and we've got lack in our system, we're actually holding our vibration back, and it's like we're not in that beautiful, ocean of water, and so we can't receive that information, and so therefore we miss out on opportunities because we're being held back by these limitations and these old patterns, repetitive patterns that could be all the way back through generations. I think Family Constellation says that it's at least 7 generations, but when you think about it, from the moment we've been created, we've still got a reptilian brain that somehow is charged for us to go into survival mode, right? And so we are a primitive body and being that's slowly evolving, but we've got this spiritual energetic being inside of us that came to experience. Now that's my understanding, my premise, and I'm going to, that's what I believe, that we are here to experience. If you believe the same, or throw it in the comments if that's something that you believe, that we're here to experience ourselves to the fullest. And what does that even mean? What does it mean to experience ourselves to the fullest? Because we are expanding our energy field. Even the universe is expanding out, is breathing out. We're in this big expansion, and so we've got the opportunity to expand ourselves into being way more than any other time in history, to be able to break those codes and break is not the right word. It's to unplug from those codes that are holding us back, so that we can step more and more fully into who we truly are, into this light being, into women of light, into the expansion, and step into that ocean that's filled with possibilities and is ripe and ready for us to actually just let go and step into. Well, how do you do that, right? How do you step into that beautiful environment that we're here to experience? One is, if you're feeling any limitations whatsoever, if you're feeling at all like you don't like the job you're in, you don't like the way your business is rolling, you don't enjoy the relationships that you're having, your health is not exactly where you want it, we are a limited being. I can guarantee that there are people on here that there is no one on here that doesn't have any limitations. I've got limitations that I'm constantly being aware of and following, because as a human being, we are 95% of the time in our subconscious patterns, and they can be ruling how we function in the world. And so when I see myself going into a limitation, I can really easily pick it up these days. Didn't used to be like that. It would take me a long time to even recognize that that I was having a block or a limitation. And so when you can recognize that you are in doubt, fear, worry, concern, overwhelm, if you're feeling anxious, if you're depressed, if you're distracting yourself with substances in some way, like drinking too much, or God forbid, smoking, all these people that are. I actually went on the weekend to Darling Harbour, and it was like it was a very different world, because the boat show was on, and very, very different energy of the type of people that go to boat shows, right? And so, it was very interesting to people watch and watch the type of thought patterns, because I can I can experience when someone's having a thought pattern and whether it's blocking them or not. And so it was very interesting just watching the dynamics of the people that you could see, what they call it, the haves and the have-nots. And the haves who think that they're this elite group of people that absolutely feel strong and confident and are living the life. They know they've got this focus, right? And the have-nots that can feel that limitation and the I'm segregating just to generalize, but it was very interesting watching the limitations that people have. Because when you can pick up something that's holding you back, then it actually is, so you can, one, recognize it, accept it, this is just the way it is, this is my current reality, and what are you going to do about it? Where are you going to step forward instead? How are you going to clear that out of your energetic field so that you can future focus and be it now, bring it into your reality now, so that you are stepping into what is it I choose to be now instead. What is it that I'm going to experience now instead of those limitations? Now, for those that are ready to clear those limitations and that old programming, we have a 5-day money abundance cheat codes series from August the 15th to the 19th, and we have tickets available now, so you can register to jump in and get those, be part of that process. And we will go through that whole process in depth in looking at what's going on in our subconscious from a quantum level all the way through to that higher aspect, what I call the superconscious. We're going to be delving in and clearing those limitations so that you can step forward, and recognizing what the structure is so that you can shift that structure and move into what is the way of focusing forward instead of having that lack in my body, so that I can actually experience myself as a woman of light, here to live up to my true potential and my divine wisdom here on earth. So if you're interested, throw in the comments yes please, and we will send you the link so that you can register for that. For anyone that is already making excuses as to why that's not going to work for them, I can, it's on at 11 o'clock, and so I've had people say, oh, well, that doesn't work for me because I'm at work. Well, it is going to have a private Facebook group, and we will be live streaming into that group. So, watch what limitations you're putting on yourself, because these things that we're going to be moving are big things, and the subconscious freaks out that it has to change, and so it goes into a bit of a survival mechanism, and will throw all the excuses and all the distractions it can so that you actually don't step forward and take the action that's required for you to live into your highest potential. So just be aware of that. Take care, everyone. I hope you'll had some time to reflect and have a think. What do you know about your family? What do you know about your ancestors? Were any in the war? Were any Holocaust survivors, for example? Were any dealing with the tragedies that were happening here just in Australia, for example, and the recession, and children being taken away, and put into foster care, and missions, and all sorts of crazy stuff happening in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? It was a crazy time. Didn't matter where you were on the planet, there was some really weird stuff going on. Chemicals being sprayed on farms, Agent Orange, and all that sort of stuff that's put into your DNA as well. So very much a time of survival. So if you're feeling like you're still in survival, be aware that it might not be your stuff, and that it's actually owning you at the moment, and do something about it. See if you can shift it. Get in, put yes please in here, and let's see if we can change some of those things so you can increase your financial freedom, your wealth, and your future, regardless of what's going on on the planet. Take care. Enjoy your week.